So looking into what we can expect from Arkansas in this game offensively, I don't think much is going to change on offense because they do have an interim play caller, I think, but it's still very much Bobby Petrino's offense. You're going to see a lot of RPOs, probably a lot of quarterback runs in this game as well. But I'll be honest, and this is weird. Like, we expected Taylon Green to try and hurt Tennessee with his legs last year. It was not at all with his legs last year. It was him and Andrew Armstrong hooking up in the passing game. Just some unbelievable catches from Andrew Armstrong in that game last year. He is not there anymore, thankfully, for Tennessee, because it felt like Jermont McCoy was blanketed all over him, and he still made some incredible catches in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think their passing attack, their Taylon Green's number 4 in the SEC in passing right now and in rushing. And like you said, he didn't run as much last season, but that's definitely something Tennessee's going to have to keep an eye on for this game, because I think the run game is going to be important for Arkansas trying to get this win, because I don't know if they can go blow for blow at Tennessee in the passing attack. Like, I know that Taylon Green's been doing good throwing the football, and I know their offense statistically has been well, but I think Tennessee's offense is better, and if it gets into a shootout game, then I don't know if Arkansas is going to be able to match up with Tennessee. So I think they'll have to burn clock and have to get the run active. And it starts with Taylon Green, but I guess we'll see what their playbook looks like this weekend. But I feel like Arkansas is going to have to establish the run to beat Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think they're very capable of doing so. And that's one thing that I just think offensively, Tennessee could really get hurt by Arkansas in this game if you're not staying disciplined against the run. And I know they're going to try and expose that just because Tennessee is a little thin in the interior of the defensive line. But it is good to have Jackson Moy back. I'll say that much. So, but no, the offense will be good for Arkansas probably, or at least be competent for Arkansas. Because they've done good things against good teams this year, like Ole Miss and Memphis. I know Memphis is a team you expect to score some points on, but they were in competitive games with both those teams just because of what their offenses were able to do. But the one thing that's cost Arkansas so far has been the defense. And I was telling you before the show, Jordan, they did an overhaul of their defensive staff. They fired defensive coordinator Travis Williams as co-defensive coordinator and his defensive line coach. So 3 guys canned by Bobby Petrino after Sam Pittman had been canned by Arkansas. And I went back and watched pretty much all 3 of their games, or at least highlights of all 3 games today that they lost to Ole Miss, Notre Dame, and Memphis. And a lot of it was scheming. I think a lot of defense in general is just coaching, because you have the responsibility of getting guys into position and making sure guys are not losing people in coverage. There are a lot of different people who got lost in coverage in the highlights from those games. And not just even in the highlights, you're losing all kinds of men down the field. Like you look like you got a corner that's trying to engage with the tight end. He just looks, tight end slips behind him. I don't know if it's a zone thing, and that's what it is, and it's not your assignment technically, but the safety is too slow to get up there, and 20 yards later, the guy's got a first down. That's essentially what some of it was. But I am going to show you guys a couple things that I noticed just from what I was watching earlier. If I can share my screen. If not, we'll pivot a little bit. But this is – it's a little crazy how elementary some of this stuff is that they have not been able to accomplish the first few weeks of the season. All right. So if I can get to my correct timestamp here, I've got like 4 million tabs open. All right. So let's go all the way back to the 4:48 mark in this highlight reel from the Memphis game. I'm sorry if we get an ad pop up here, but this is just stuff they teach you in youth league football, if we're being honest. All right. So we're going to hit play here. This is okay. My computer is lagging big time. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off. Is it lagging as much on there as it's lagging on my computer?
A little bit. The frame rate's a little iffy.
Oh dear, this is not going to work, is it?
Try ahead and play again. See what it looks like.
I just hit play.
Oh, I'm seeing a spinning wheel on my end.
All right. So you're going to see this guy drift over. He's going to score a touchdown. But watch the replay. If it'll speed up. My computer's acting like it's about to explode. All right. This is a vain effort. I'm sorry, guys. That did not work how I thought it was going to. I'm really sorry. Okay. So I was watching that. So on that play, the quarterback is going to score a touchdown for Memphis. And this guy is not a particularly fast quarterback either. He's tall, so he's a bit of a long strider, but it's not like he's super athletic. He likes to use his legs, but again, not super fast. So what happens is the linebacker leads in with his shoulder into the guy on the play. You can go back and watch this in the highlights if you can find it. It's about 4:48 in. He leans into the quarterback with his shoulder as he's at the 1 yard line. That's elementary school stuff. That is what they teach you in Brentwood Blaze and Franklin Cowboys, what not to do when tackling somebody. And that's what they're doing out there at Arkansas. So they're doing that. It's arm tackle city out there for some of these guys and the linebackers. I mean, the same guy did the same thing on the play that ended up costing them the game, or one of the plays that ended up costing them the game, the long touchdown run by the Memphis running back. And then the Notre Dame game was just unbelievable how unglued they became there in the end. It was, I think, 28-13 in the final 2 minutes. They ended up going a half up 42-13. I think the last touchdown of the half, they were they threw a screen pass, and the running back is surrounded by 7 Arkansas defenders. None of them tackle him. How does that happen? Yeah, that's 7 of your 11 guys on defense that are surrounding a running back. How do you let that happen? It makes no sense.
Well, that's definitely a positive sign for Tennessee. I mean, if they're trying to arm tackle during all these games, then, I mean, I bet you Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop go crazy if Tennessee gives them the ball. I mean, especially Bishop, too. I mean, he's going to run right through those arm tackles. It could be rough.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Tennessee doesn't have some of those same problems on the defensive end. And it is a little tricky to be critical of what you've seen from Arkansas schematically just through these first 5 weeks of the season, because you've had a defensive staff overhaul. You could see some new schemes. Watch Bobby Petrino's press conference just to see if there was anything of note, and he pretty much verbatim said, we don't want to let our opponents know anything that we're doing on the defensive end. So would imagine we're going to see some different things there. I believe Chris Wilson is the interim DC for Arkansas. So that's going to be a new look for this team. But again, man, some of this stuff, though, like, you should not have to coach up in the college football rankings. You should not be having to do angle tackling drills every week in practice for football. You want to do more of your scrimmages and stuff like that. You don't want to just do you do not want to be at a point where you have to work on basic fundamentals in football like we're seeing from this Arkansas team right now. And again, just reiterates the point that you cannot go out there and score any less than 5 or 6 touchdowns in this game if you're Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, they especially need to fix that arm tackling too, considering all these players are getting like paid now too, and you want those guys to be able to wrap up. And it was a former coach. I'm pretty sure it is John Gruden, but I'm not 100% sure. I think he was saying like some of the problems that we see with tackling in modern football is because there's no not the same amount of padded practices they used to be. A lot of times these teams are like in uppers doing like individual drills and like skill things, stuff like that. There's not as many, just go out there and grind and grueling practice. And I think in a way that helps prevent injuries from happening, which could be an issue going on with Tennessee. I mean, it's speculation, but maybe Tennessee's not wasn't going really aggressive at practice during the offseason. I mean, and it's hard to get used to game speed if you're doing that. So maybe that's the case. I don't know, but Arkansas is going to have to get that fixed for sure. And I mean, like Tennessee has their own issues. Like, don't get me wrong, but at least Tennessee's got an elite pass rush on defense. As long as they don't try to go headhunt the quarterback and not set the edge and let Green roll out the pocket, that could be a problem. They're at least going to be causing pressure in the passing attack and maybe could force a turnover due to the defensive line, which has been getting better and better each week.
Yeah. And Taylor Green is prone to giving you some turnovers. He, of course, didn't last year against Tennessee. I wonder why that is. I mean, literally every single time a quarterback goes against Tennessee, he just has to have one of his best games of his life. You saw it with Gunnar Stockton a couple weeks ago. Fortunately, it was not the case with Blake Shapen. That's the good news. But with Taylor Green, it was very much the case last year. Just slinging it down the field against Tennessee. That defensive front is going to have to get after him this week, force some turnovers. So you've got a few things to think about on the defensive end, and I'm hoping Tim Banks will bring a little bit more pressure than usual this week, just because if you don't do it on third down, it's a little bit of a frustration among fans if you can't do that. But no, I think Tennessee will be able to do what it wants on offense. We've not seen the offensive line struggle this year. And we've seen this offense just way more in sync with itself than it was ever last season. So I think we've already talked about some keys for the game, just, keeping Taylor Green in the pocket, bringing the pressure, and just make sure you get off to a good start offensively. You don't want them to have some hope on defense for the first time in a while because, maybe they're improved schematically. We'll find out as the season goes on. But they're not good at the basics. They're not good at the basics. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So Tennessee should win this game unless chaos ensues, which I know every Tennessee fan has seen some chaotic events before, but Tennessee should win this game comfortably. I'd imagine.
Do we have any score predictions?
I was trying to think in my head. I mean, the number that's floating around right now, which I have not been accurate on any of my predictions yet, but I'm going 42-17.
I'll go 42-21. This game is a 13-point lean just about for Tennessee right now. I think it was at 12.5 earlier, which is actually about what Tennessee was favored by last year going into Fayetteville. But the good news is it's a home game for Tennessee, so I don't figure that's as much of a problem. I think Arkansas could score a little bit. In fact, I know they can score a little bit. They've actually scored more against good teams on the road than they did at home against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's defense has not been what it was in the past under Marcus Freeman, just being completely honest. So, but that's my score prediction. I think Tennessee wins this game. You have to win this game if you're Josh Heupel and you're really upset by what happened last season.
Yeah, and if Tennessee somehow manages to lose this game, then that's going to be a whole can of worms to open up on. But surely that's not going to be the case.